So it appears that I have failed. Failure sucks, and it's a part of pretty much any profession or hobby that you could ever get involved in, especially with photography. When you're trying to learn and practice photography, failure is just a part of what it is that we do. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have photos that don't turn out. We're going to have photos that are rejected with submissions. These are all failures that are along our path. So there's a quote that's attributed to Thomas Edison. Apparently he said that I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. This is something that we can apply to our work and our progression within photography. We may not have had a win every single time out of the gate, and we may have found 10,000 ways that just didn't work in order to get our photos. So having failures in photography is obviously part of the learning process, but there's no better way to see when you have succeeded or failed than with film photography, for instance, because film photography, you kind of have to wait to see your results at this point still, and it's not an instant gratification as you would get with digital photography. So if you've seen any of my past videos, or if you've seen my past video where I actually used a film camera in order to talk about the Sunny 16 rule, I had used an Olympus Pen F camera in order to help illustrate some of the settings and everything that was needed in that video. But I went through, a full roll of film over the last couple of months, not only to make that video, but also because I wanted to start taking photos on film again and really kind of refine my skills a little bit more. So over the past couple of months, I had been taking photos with that film camera, and I had recently sent that in for development and gotten those photos back. So from that roll, you can actually see where I have failed. And that's okay, because you're going to make mistakes in your photography and you're gonna mess up or just not get it correct. So I thought this would be a neat way to illustrate how you can learn from these failures. So the first thing I want to show you is a photo that I took back in June. So pretty straightforward. Then a few weeks after that, there was this other photo. And then finally, this last photo. So now before you start thinking that there's something wrong with your computer, wrong with your phone, wrong with YouTube, or just wrong with this video in general, you'll find that all of those pictures were black. Because as it turned out, when I got that roll of film developed, I got an entirely blank roll of film. So come to find out, the shutter on that camera was broken. And I was not actually exposing the film to any images at all. So what ended up happening is I developed an entire roll of film that had no images on it. So this is obviously a failure, luckily a hardware failure, but also a failure of my own technical abilities because I did not realize this when I was first testing it out. So now I have this beautiful roll of blank film that I could do something else with. So while I fell in love with the idea of taking photos on film again, because by the way, I am in the market to get another film camera that does work, so that way I can take film photos again. Luckily, like I said before, we are in the digital age, so we do have a little bit of that instant gratification where we can take our photo and see where we got it right, where we got it wrong, and any improvements that we can make as we go along. So just remember, just because you have a mistake in your photo doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, or even possibly a massive failure like I did with this film camera as I'm sitting here rolling this blank roll of film back up. So I get it. Failures can be discouraging, mistakes can be discouraging, and that's what happens when you're learning. So when you take all of this into account with a growth mindset, don't think of these as permanent failures that are going to take you away from this hobby or from this profession. to begin with, just see them as temporary setbacks along your path of becoming a better photographer. So social media also kind of hurts us in that respect, because on social media, everybody posts their best photo, their best images, their best sights, their best scenes. You're gonna see the best of people's work there. And when you compare yourself to people in their best work, you kind of, you're hurting yourself in that process. You know, comparison is definitely the root of all evil in that. So sometimes we just need to embrace the suck a little bit. You know, having that blank roll of film. Or a couple of years ago, I was taking photos of the eclipse over the Hudson River. I donated my variable neutral density filter to the river because I banged into the handrail that was on this dock. Into the drink it went. So sometimes you have to embrace those kind of mistakes and oops moments. And obviously that was an expensive mistake. Or it could even be something as simple as the selfie that I took in last week's video. You'll notice that I didn't post it because this is what it turned out to look like. So as you can see, something went wrong in that. I guess in my filming and kind of cutting back and forth, I must have been leaning on the camera a little bit and adjusted it down. And then when I went to hit the shutter in order to do the time shot, I probably jogged the focus a little bit. So now you have a blurry me and a sharp background. So the path to becoming a great photographer is going to be paved with failures. How you react to those failures is going to determine what your outcomes are going to be. And it's going to determine how successful you're going to be in the future, because the more of these failures that you have and the more that you learn from these failures and don't let them discourage you, the better off you're going to be long term and the more you're going to learn long term. So with a little bit of humor, a little bit of perseverance, and a lot of tenacity, you can turn some of those setbacks into major wins within your practice and learning of photography. So don't be afraid of making the mistakes, but also take your mistakes into account and learn from them. So thank you very much for coming along with me on this. I really do appreciate you watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed this little session going through some of my setbacks and failures. You know, everything from a blank roll of film to losing some equipment to the river. While I might not have enjoyed it at the time, I certainly do laugh at it now because having a nice blank roll of film actually could be a lot of fun to play with. But also, I really do appreciate everybody coming along on this, watching these videos. Make sure to give it a like, you know, thumbs up down below. Leave a comment with any spectacular fails that you've had. Let's tell some great stories of where we've made some mistakes or come out with something funny or interesting out of one of these failures. I really do appreciate everybody coming along. And again, I keep saying it, I don't know why, but thank you very much, and I'll see you again next week. Take care.